Howdy. Let me make this full size. I'm back. Uh, Wanted to continue my stories and got a good amount of comments that it was helpful, or at least people appreciated what I had to say. And sorry, I've been off a bit, and I posted earlier that my wife got diagnosed with COVID last week, and I had some symptoms, so it's been a little bit of recovery period. I've just been tired, but I can still function and have been seeing people. So, uh, wanted to continue the story. I might say some stuff that was said in the last one. I talked for quite a while, and I don't always remember everything I'd say, but I'm gonna try to go from end of high school forward a bit, maybe reflecting back on some of the things in the earlier years that I get reminded of as I go along. But anyway, end of high school, I had been working for my dad for 6 years at that point. I started when I was 12, um, and I went through till I was 18. And it started off as I really wanted to learn uh, auto mechanics and had a real enjoyment for it. So I was naturally drawn to it, and I had this great opportunity to work right out in the shop that was connected to the house. But my dad was not the most fun person to work with, but he really wanted me to take over the business. And I tell people with that, he wasn't the greatest person that I wanted to team up with. I didn't think it was going to go very well. I had kind of had enough of that by that point in life and wanted to do something different or more, or get out of town a bit. And up through the last few years of working there, my dad had some friends that come in, and they were engineers or former engineers. So they were telling me a little bit about what they did. It was intriguing. My academics, I was doing well, good at math and science. Not the greatest at English literature spelling wise, which I joke that one of the requirements to be an engineer is you don't know how to spell. And I still struggle with that. I was typing the post a little bit to put information in with this, and I misspelled something, and I'm very thankful for spell check because it always gives me that line that something's wrong. Uh, but not to go on with that for too long. I was good at math and science. My parents didn't do any long-term college deal. My dad didn't even finish high school, but I wanted to aspire to do more. Um, and I didn't have a lot of knowledge of what was going on. My world was really narrow because my parents didn't. Their world was really narrow as well. So uh, I grew up in Pennsylvania, finding colleges was a whole another experience. And so I was really only influenced by the people around me. And one of the guys in my dad's shop had worked for General Motors for quite a long time. I think he was in his 80s. He told me about a university or an institute up in Michigan. It sounded interesting. It was going to connect me in the automotive industry, help me with engineering, and thought it'd be kind of interesting to move up there. But I was still insecure too. So, but my mom and my sister, we drove up there one summer, probably before my senior year, maybe junior year. I don't remember exactly. I was up in Flint, Michigan, uh, the great, wonderful town of Flint. Uh, it was cool. Henry Ford Museum was there. We got to do fun stuff like that. But the school was small, which wasn't bad at all. Uh, but it was a co-op school, which is really kind of unique in that they did each class. There was a semester on and on campus doing classes, and then you had a semester off at a internship co-op opportunity with one of the industries around, usually like General Motors or Ford or something like that. Um, and they said to kind of maintain your culture and personal health sanity wise, there was a Greek system was there, being a fraternity sorority thing, and I wasn't real secure enough to want to go do that. So that was kind of a turn off at that point. But um, so went back to Pennsylvania. What else is there options there? Well, Penn State, like Georgia's, kind of the main university there. Um, it's 21 plus branch campuses around the states. It was huge. And one of my good friends, his dad went to Penn State, I think for his graduate degree stuff. So they were influencing me to consider that. So that was actually the only school I really applied to. Got into it, but this is an interesting point of the story too. Is my mom told me I was not socially adequate, or I forget exactly how she said I lacked the social skills or lacked the social confidence or something to that nature to go to the main campus of Penn State. So that was still how she saw me. And those, those of you watching me know me. I've watched other videos. I have some social skills. So deep down in who I am, they're there. But where I was coming from, you know, I probably really didn't have them, because when I meet people later on in the story, I talk about meeting people, and I really just keep my head down. I was real shy and didn't speak very loudly. So my mom was kind of right from what you would see, but really not right. Well, a lot of it because of their influence on me and my lack of confidence just in who I was. Uh, so I ended up going to the branch campus and commuting back and forth, probably like a 30, 40-minute ride. Um, Really small campus, I think one of the smallest ones. And it was totally commuter, so nobody lived on campus. Everybody was scattered all around the area. Uh, it, I enjoyed it. Um, I enjoyed some of the classes. Some of my favorite ones were there. The early engineering classes. Give a shout out to the professor, but I can't remember his name. But he was real pleasant to work with and real encouraging and really helpful. And so know some of the concepts and dynamics and statics, and uh, it was satisfying to go there. Um, and it was also satisfying. I did well in the math part, just kind of I was thinking I would because of high school, um, and was able to get opportunities to be a tutor there, which was really neat because I could interact with people and share what I know and knew, and kind of get affirmed for the social skills a little bit. So it was a really positive kind of experience. I'm glad I had that opportunity. Uh, but probably there's a whole bunch of stuff there, but other comparison to other people and blah blah blah. But one of the interesting parts was my spiritual journey really kind of started blossoming there. And so here's the kind of the backstory on that is I grew up, my mom grew up Catholic. My dad grew up going to the Lutheran church. Uh, so when they married, I think my dad might have still been going to church at the time. I don't know. He got a pretty sour attitude about it. Kind of looked at it that all they really wanted was money. My mom saw Catholicism and duty related stuff as the way she needed to live her life. So in the Lutheran church we went to was not, I say, not too far away from the Catholics. We were liturgical. We had all the robes and the processions and the formalities of it. And I always thought there was something more to life. It was one of the things at the end of my high school deal I remember thinking was, if this is all there is to life, what's the point? Right? It just kind of, you struggle, you suffer, you have some enjoyment, you get some cool things, but then you die. And really, after a short period of time, you're forgotten, as most of the millions and billions of people that came before us have been forgotten, other than a headstone. Um, so it seemed like a really kind of long journey of producing not a whole lot. Um, but I also had the spiritual connection. I think there had to be something more, right? Why would we be here? Why would we be journeying? Why would we be interacting with people? And so when I was at the Allentown campus, I met a couple of guys who they were really good friends for a long, long time. Had gone to church together. Troy Geiger and Steve Smith. Hey guys, if you see this, you helped change my life in that as well. They were good friends. Troy was actually in the same major I was in, and Steve was actually an agronomist. He's still quite, I think, very, very successful in the area of agronomy. So, Steve, shout out to you. I know we haven't talked for a while, but I've been pretty happy to see how you have gone through and made some good impressions and help in that industry. So, thanks, Steve and Troy. I see that you've been an engineer forever, and that's really awesome too. Consistent for a long period of time. So, all those tests we studied for, all those struggles we had, uh, you made it happen afterwards, and so I really admire that. It's been great. Uh, but I was had conversations with those guys, and I don't remember how they all started, but there was some connection that happened with church there, and I don't know if I think I might have visited their church a few times. And simultaneously, one of my really close friends, Dan Ballou, will holler out to you here as well, and three pretty influential guys at that time in my life for my spiritual journey. Um, was his older brother was going to Messiah College, a Christian school, and he was getting pretty excited about Jesus and the gospel and relationship with him and that sort of thing. So they Dan kind of went found an answer for what he was looking for, and he became a Christian, and he and I were having dialogues. So I was starting to start put something stuff together that okay, maybe this is the answer, that having a personal relationship, it wasn't duty and liturgy and process, it was actual relationship. There was the Bible had some things in it that were really helpful. View of people, ways to go about your life. What does relationship mean? Well, why are we here? Uh, what's going to happen? Where are we going to go? And it really started answering some of my questions in life. And the people were caring. Um, and so I actually spent a good deal of time at the Geigers over there. That was a great place to go. Really kind of family oriented. Still remember, and you probably do, make it if you're there. You remember laughing at this and Mr. Geiger, hey there too. Uh, that I was so worried about performance that I helped make dinner one night and made French fries. And um, I guess most people, the way they made French fries at that point was just pour the French fries on, kind of spreading it out over the tray. Um, well, my approach was a little bit more precise, so to speak, and each French fry was laid next to the other one to fill it all up, and different rows were put out and try to optimize the layout of the French fries on the pan. And I must have done that before anybody saw it. So when they saw I was going to put it in the oven, they definitely found that amusing. Uh, and it was in a supportive environment, so I don't remember being offended, but I do remember them laughing about it. And I still remember, I still kind of laugh at it, but sometimes I still put French fries on the tray that way because I'm just geeky like that. And you can cook more French fries that way. It's really, look at the space that's left when you just throw them on there. Total total less lack of efficiency there. But anyway, those guys were great. Steve ended up going up the main campus ahead of us by a year, as his major demanded that. Uh, that he got a department, and we put some guys together, and I actually went up there with them, lived with Troy and Steve for a number of years. I was actually lived in that apartment on Beaver Avenue, two bedroom apartment, one bath with five guys. I don't know what we were thinking at the time. I would never do that now, but we somehow did it, and I did it. I think it was 4 years, three, 4, 5. I got to do the math. I started in '92. When did I leave there? I don't know, 96 or 5 or something like that. So I had a different roommate cycle through with me as I was there. But in that experience, I got connected with Campus Ministries, and the Navigators was a big part. And Steve had checked those out before we moved up there, so he had a direction and he was going and recommendations. And I remember in that fall, I said, really, would you get me into Bible study because I need to learn more about this. And somewhere in that journey, I became a Christian too. I accepted that the relationship with Jesus was really what was going to make a difference in my life. Um, Now, recognize there's a lot of stuff now going on in here. I've got the damage from my past, my low lack of self esteem and self worth, but also spiritual awakening in the middle of an environment that has some caring people in there. But we're all messed up when we're young college kids, and I was hurt in some of the things that happened there as well. Um, I'm not going to mention names, but I remember, remember my story with my dad of asking me questions that I didn't even know the answer for, so I felt like I was set up to fail. Well, in this Christian environment, I had one of those that I remember where that they asked me, who wrote a book in the New Testament. You set up like who wrote James? Who's James? Who wrote John? John, right? Um, and then who wrote? I forget what was it? Blanking on it now. Philemon or something like one of those that Paul wrote to the person, but it's titled by the person who received the letter. And I they kind of tricked me to follow that pattern, and really hit the core idea of being a failure again, not knowing, and set up that. So trusting people there was very get pretty conflictual and in my heart. Uh, but I was doing well in school. Um, had a decent group of guys in the apartment, um, and I was getting involved in the Navigator ministry and that was helpful. But there, spiritual awakening and knowledge is great. Uh, but as a counselor now, I think, how do you apply this uh, to the whole part of us as a person? Because I tell people I see it as this kind of five parts to a person: the emotional part, the spiritual part, the intellectual part, the relationship part, and the physical. I think I said all five of them. Uh, so spirituality, you think of bringing it to the spiritual side, that which is great, but God made us this whole person, so His message, His perspective, should influence the whole person. Uh, but I didn't know how to do that, and if I knew, if I had myself as a client right now, um, I would know there's going to be a lot of work to help this guy out to understand some of the real significance of his damage and how to really apply um, biblical truths and understanding of people to his heart to transform him from the inside out. I was kind of a performance junkie. I was very much concerned about what I did and making sure I made people happy or got their approval. And that wasn't the greatest thing to be. Um, I One of the things in the Navigators, they had a meeting every Friday, and there was somebody who emceed the meeting, and they had band and different things there. But somehow I got to be the MC for a while, and it was kind of a status symbol in some ways. I had some power. I was in front of the group, but I was nervous severely, and um, one of the ways that my family related to people, especially in the family, was to kind of pick on people, make fun of people, to get a laugh. But that's a terrible thing to do. Um, People actually call it sarcasm, but it's sarcasm is with intent to harm, and I think my family really did intend to harm. Where facetiousness is that silly comments without intent to harm. But some of that was really still oozing out of me is trying to feel better about myself. So as an MC, I would pick on people, and that really wasn't a good thing. I remember afterwards, Brian Ralston, and you might see this too. Man changed my life. Leatherman. I think it was you walking out of a meeting one time, and you said, "Rich, you don't have to perform. You just have to be yourself." And that's a really cool thing. The real problem for me was I didn't know who I was. Um, so it's really hard to be authentic to yourself if you have no idea who you are, how you're wired, what's your skill set, how do you think, what choices do you make, what things do you like, what's your favorite color, what's your favorite ice cream, what, did you enjoy that? Why did you enjoy it? I could not answer a lot of those questions. Um, that I think the environment I was in, as a counselor, I was saying it'd be a lot of work if I had to work with a client like that. Um, Most people are not equipped. They're really aware, insightful, sufficiently to understand when a person's at that level of damage and confusion. So I was gleaning what I could there, but the pain was still tremendous. Went to a men's retreat through the Navigators in time, and with men's retreats, it's kind of focused on our messed upness, usually pornography and sexual dysfunction, kind of twisted sexual ideas and masturbation and blah blah blah. And uh, so they like to kind of make you uncomfortable to some degree, and but they also want to speak to your heart. This is kind of really what they're trying to get to, because those things that we do that aren't healthy or sinful are really, I believe, are driven out of our heart. And we'll talk a little bit about that. But just to mention, the book of James, we quote that one a good bit, that out of the heart the mouth speaks. And I kind of broadened that from an engineering thinking. It's like, well, speaking is just an activity. So we could say then out of the heart we do. Uh, so then I reverse engineer it. If we look at the behavior, then what condition of our heart may be that would drive that kind of behavior. Um, so now I remember where I was in my story. Too bad nobody can help me because I'm talking to myself. Uh, anyway, let's see. It was Navigate. Oh yeah, there you go. Men's group. Um, and something hit me there, and I lost it. I just wept and wept and wept and wept. And some of those guys that I knew, I think Brian Welsh, you might have been there. I think Ralston, you might have been there. But I remember you guys just kind of putting your arms around me and comforting me as the pain started flowing out, and that was very helpful. And now looking back, 20 plus years now, um, close to 30, which is really crazy. Um, I know as a counselor that was very therapeutic, but I also know in my own heart that was just scratching the surface of the pain. Um, so there was lots of good things that happened there, uh, but also some confusion. And now let's be real, right? My dad being an auto mechanic, my wife described him as one of the meanest guys she's ever met, but he is also really sexually twisted around, unfortunately. Stereotypical masculine mechanic, pinups and all the other stuff around, and I'm not sure what's appropriate to say on Facebook, so I kind of try to steer this to something. But he would drive comparison, or try to put me in circumstances of comparison, and just conflict like he would. He'd just do it in the sexual realm. Remember, on one side he wanted me to have sex, on the other side he didn't want me to have sex. So it's kind of like, what do you do? It's like the door open, door closed thing. You can't like half do that. And it's confusing. Um, so I had all that brokenness, and then like, I talked with guys about that area of sexuality can be very connected to the area of nurture, because women, you embody nurture. Your your body is amazing. It's a baby, uh, not machine things, but it has everything necessary to nurture a child inside and take care of it while it's in an infant state. Uh, no, so what is your mommy parts is also your sexual woman parts, and guys, we can get that kind of really mixed up. in that. But my from part one, I bet my mom wasn't really great in the nurturing side of things, so I was pretty wide open to have uh, the vulnerability for that and exposure to it really early on. So that's been a real painful part of my story and recovery, and how bringing that history into my marriage has been. Bless my wife, she has been loving me through all kinds of craziness that we'll get to, because then we go to mental disorder, we go to uh, violence, I guess, for lack of a better word, to it. Um, so there was that through all the pain in college. And well, here's one story from the Allentown deal when it comes to dating stuff. It's pretty freaky, actually. There's one girl there, somehow was fascinated by her. She had a boyfriend, but then didn't have a boyfriend, and was really, I guess, persistent to get together with her. So um, I did one day and ended up at her house till wee hours in the morning. Nothing going on inappropriate at all. But the phone rang, and it was my mom on the phone, which was just really strange. Don't know how she figured it out. This is in the early 90s when we did not have cell phones. We had landlines. And if you had a remote phone, you were really doing well. Um, so it was really embarrassing. And I came home, got home as the sun was rising, and my parents were in the kitchen. And I remember my dad saying, "What are we going to do with him?" And that was really, really hurtful, because that's when I needed somebody to help me figure out some stuff, not just cast me off as if I'm, you know, unreachable, unhelpable, and uh, really discouraged. Like I had done something so awful, right? It really wasn't. Like, how many of us that went to college pulled all nighters for whatever reason? A lot of all nighters probably weren't even to get schoolwork done. It was because we were up enjoying ourselves, or for just the ability to go do it because we didn't do it when we were growing up. So staying up all night was entertaining. So I didn't do anything wrong, but it so struck me to the core that I was bad in another way. And I remember, Keon and my mom, our house was laid out kind of strange. There's a window between where my room was and the kitchen, and kind of crying to my mom that what am I supposed to do? What's wrong with me? Or help me out. And I don't think she had a whole lot of wisdom to impart on me then either. So it was just another experience of being ill-equipped for life's journey, in relationship and romance things. And Amy Flinchbaugh, thanks for your lovely comments there. I remember you, good friend, and we journeyed a lot through some things, and uh, hopefully, it didn't hurt you too poorly. If I did, too badly, or whatever the phrase would be. But Uh, that's just another story, maybe for another time. But, I've got 48 and a half years in this life, and hopefully I'm at least entertaining you all, and providing some encouragement and some insight for counseling stuff related to who we are and how we work. I'm looking at the timer, and I'm pushing 30 minutes. I don't want to make this forever long, so you don't have to scroll through to pick up where you might have left off. So, kind of like those TV shows growing up where, you had to tune in same day, same time, same channel every week to find out the next part of the story. We're going to leave it there. So, next time we'll continue the story, and hopefully look a little bit more at other areas of my life and how they play into all of ours. And as counselor, what does that do? And continue the story of how I got from engineer to counselor. Um, I guess that was the main part of this, but I'm going into great detail. So hopefully, we'll keep going. I'll keep putting this out there and want to reach people. Just let them know, you're human. You're not in this alone. There are lots of people who've experienced lots of difficult stuff, and there are people out there that want to come alongside and help us and love us and care for us um, where we are. So get out there, ask for help. If when you talk to me, be glad to chat and give you reference or give you direction or whatever I can do. So until next time, tune back in. Batman was the one they did a lot. Same bat time, same bat channel. See y'all.